Hey everybody, welcome to another Keepin It 100 podcast.
100.
Let's go, Ron.
Let's go. It's been a while.
It's been a while,
We've had some holidays. We took a little break, but we're back.
Yeah.
And we're back with a vengeance.
Come on, the grind is grindy, but we're here because we're going to have a very important conversation today.
It is important.
Actually, a series of conversations, but we're going to talk about racial reconciliation.
Ooh.
What a big topic, but what a relevant topic, especially with what's happened in the last year. So yeah, this will be pretty interesting.
Some would say we're late to the plate, but as we might talk about, you're never late to be talking about these things, right?
Come on. Never late.
Anyway,
never late.
I think a good thing, since there's tons of conversation we can have around this, but I think the good thing for us to focus on today is maybe like our backgrounds, our upbringing, and how that informs our bias, whether we realize it or not.
Yes, 100%.
I think that would be
because it does.
Because it does.
Yeah,
it really does.
it
Whether
does.
you think about it or not, if you're watching from our generic, where most of our people are from, Twist Pam Sis, there is a bias that you have, or prejudice that you may have that you don't realize. And I think it's good to understand about this. So let's start from our upbringing. So what was your upbringing?
Yeah, it's funny because I grew up in the state of Maryland, so in the States, Baltimore, which is very diverse and multi-ethnic. So I was raised there until I was 12. Obviously, I was raised by a black family. I'm not adopted. But obviously that structured how I saw the world. But also structured how I saw white people too, right? And then I moved to Canada when I was 12 years old. So I moved to Canada and lived in this small town, Sussex, for like my whole high school and middle school
Maryland to Sussex. I don't see it
was pretty traumatic.
Yeah,
man.
like that's a huge.
It really was, and it was crazy, like just the two worlds of how people saw the world and in Maryland, of course, diversity was more acceptable. It was more comfortable. It was more normal. Here, it's not as normal. Yep. So thus people don't treat you like you're normal, right? And so, the way that I would describe Sussex would be, very ignorant. Like, for instance, I had a girl one day, said, "Hey, like, how's the Bahamas?" I was like, "I've never been to the Bahamas." "What do you mean?" She's like, "No, how's the Bahamas? Like, I mean, that's where you're from, right?" I was like, "No. Matter of fact, I'm from St. I was trying to, make a joke, but no. So from there, my upbringing was for sure dealing with ignorant people, and of course that breeded some fear. It made me feel kind of like I had to hide. And of course, breeded some anger and all that type of stuff. But anyways, it totally informed my bias.
Yeah, because that can shape how you view white people.
Yeah,
even right. How 100%. You view not just a lot of times the conversation is how white people view black people, but there's also part of that where you're saying where it's how you view white people. Yeah, and how that shaped your bias for that.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
What about you? Because you have a different story.
Yes.
You're from Detroit.
Well, Metro Detroit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Metro
People
Detroit.
joke, they talk about like 8 Mile, like 6 Mile, Eminem, where he grew up.
Yeah.
I'm from 20.
Because that is where he grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm from 21 Mile.
So hold on. Yeah. Did you meet him at all?
But his daughter went to my high school.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
Did I ever interact with her? Not really, no. Oh, but anyway.
So like you've had to ask that question a lot.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, you had to ask.
Were you friends? No.
Yeah.
Like I don't just go up to some random person and be like, "Hey, let's be friends because your dad's famous." Anyway. Yeah, I grew up on 21 Mile. So we were pretty far, like 8 miles.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it was the suburbs. It was mostly white. There was it was mostly white where I grew up. And because of that, like even growing up through elementary school, middle school, when my parents would talk about going to Detroit, it was like, "Oh, we don't go there because it's not really safe." And obviously the assumption, like what's known about Detroit is a very black black city, right? There's a lot of African American roots there. And even my dad telling me stories of when there was riots in Detroit and how he was young and he would drive by and his parents would be like, everyone just like, don't look, like we're just driving through, like we don't stop for anything. And even stories saying like, hey, if you are in Detroit and you go up to a red light, like you don't, like you're at a stop sign, it's middle of the night, you don't stop. It's like those stories were ingrained to me, and my parents, they're not racist. They're not like, but that's like the things that they grew up with, the bias they had, and they pass it on to me, right? So that equated to even like when I'm walking down the street in my neighborhood on 21 Mile, and there's a black person walking on the same side of the road as I am. I went to the other side, which is totally because the bias in me was like, oh well, this isn't safe. But I'm thankful that I had growing up, I had a youth pastor who was black.
Yeah.
Grew up in Detroit.
Sure.
And he, like, I was able to see his perspective of like how he viewed things, and he showed me the things in me that was like, hey, that's not okay. That's a bias and a prejudice that isn't true.
Sure.
An assumption that isn't true, and I'm thankful for that. And that's something that I still like. I'm still working out, right? I'm not perfect, but like I remember when I went to Detroit with a few friends 2 summers ago, and I was in Detroit and I was like thinking, okay, like what do I need to do to be safe? And then I'm like, wait, like why am I still thinking that? Like that's like I'm in a, first of all, yes, there's dangerous parts of every city, but I was in a safe spot. Just because it's Detroit doesn't mean I'm gonna get shanked.
Sure.
Like, right? Like,
Sure.
There's prejudice in me that like it's like, okay, I need to actively work this out.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we all, whether we realize it or not, have prejudice about things. But
We do, and we have, you know, biases. Of course, if we're not careful, by our parents, but also from like media,
Yes.
and TV, and
yes.
And that shapes how we view the world. You know,
We often, and if we're not careful, we can gravitate towards those things, and then our ideas form around those things, and then we only gravitate more towards what is forming us, right?
Yeah.
And I think we need to be careful about that, because if we're not, then we're just only going to feed and build the prejudice that we may have inside of us.
Which is the complete opposite of like the Jesus way.
Yes.
Because I mean, like you see throughout the Gospels, like the life of Jesus, like he constantly stepped into the worlds of people who were considered, of course, outcasts and people who were sidelines, or people like from other cultures, because of course, Jews were like the alpha culture.
If you were a Gentile,
Yeah,
not a Jew,
if you were a Gentile, if you were different people were considered other, right? And so, so my next question is, what would you say? Because of course, like we live in a predominantly white region, with of course being in the Maritimes, and of course our kids, their circles are 90% white,
if not more.
Yeah, if not more. So, like, where do we start to have these conversations, even though like my world is not as like diverse?
I think part of it is recognizing. The thing that helps me is recognizing that the way that you live your life, the way that your family operates, the way that you view things, you think about things, isn't the only way. Like there's other cultures that, like, you're not the center of the universe, is what I'm saying, right? There's other cultures that live a way of life that is good. And I think an important thing about that has helped me is recognizing that there's parts of God in those cultures that you might be missing if you're not looking.
Yeah.
Like if we truly believe we're all created in God's image, then there's parts of you coming from your background that are part of who God is. That if I totally disregarded you, if I totally shoved you out of my life because of the way you looked or the way you acted, then I wouldn't see a part of God.
Yeah. 100%.
And also goes further to say, if you do believe that we're all made in the image of God, then that means we should be actively trying to get to know you, right? We should be actively, like, that should inspire you to want to know other people, because hey, there's parts of God that I might be missing. Yeah.
And that's why racism and prejudice like break God's heart.
Yes.
Because there is, fragments of the expression of God through all cultures, Black, Asian, Hispanic, white, like whatever. And so, yes, like you said, like we have to be willing to step into the world of other people. And that's why this whole race conversation, like, does require courage. It requires people to really move beyond themselves or how they see the world or their little boxed view of creation, and really like befriend someone, like know their parents, know their lifestyle, know their beliefs, like know their values, that their culture values. And really, when you do that, it changes your perspective of how people are and how they live.
And I think a good thing to know is that doing that, like putting yourself out there to understand other cultures or befriend that person at school, Asian, Black, whatever it may be, like it's going to make you feel uncomfortable, and that's good. And that uncomfort might actually reveal some things about you. Like, why does it make me uncomfortable? Like, is it uncomfortable because I feel unsafe? Well, why do I feel unsafe? Like, do I actually have any reason to feel unsafe, right? Like, if I were to go and hang out with your family, would I feel unsafe? I don't think so. But if I do, like, what's in me making me feel unsafe? Because I know you, and I know how you talk about like your mom and how loving they are. And even when I would hang out with my youth pastor's family sometime, like I know how loving they are. And if I feel unsafe, then there's something inside of me that I need to be like, okay, there's something wrong here. I shouldn't be feeling like this. Yeah. Because there's parts of who they are that I'm missing.
Yeah, for sure. And like, similarity always breeds, like familiarity.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, most, we always flock to the people that are the most like us, the most,
It's because they understand you, right?
They understand us. And so it's hard to really step into someone who's actually, different than you. And not just beliefs, but also looks, different than you. And so we really got to kind of push aside like those feelings and those emotions and really step into that. And it's hard. It's hard. And it's hard even for adults.
Yes.
Like to really be with someone who's not like you.
Yeah.
I mean, even in some even church circles, we have our own little like cliques and little crews of people who are the most like us, right? Rather than...
I don't want to hang out with the people who go to CR.
Yeah, like those people, oh my gosh. Or like the youth group people, they're the wild ones. They're the immature ones, like, I mean, like you've heard that
the
before.
Youth pastors, they're just...
anyways, we have our stuff. But it's the idea is that God calls us out of that and to really step into the world of people.
And it also goes along the idea that we're all part of the body of Christ, right? And we all have functions and we all have like different things that we bring to the table. Yeah. And I would hate to see a church that's filled with a bunch of white people and that's it. Yeah, man. Like that would there's expressions of God that we would
same way.
Like one thing I love about getting to know you is seeing like how you express love and passion for God that growing in a mostly white church, I didn't see that. Yeah, sure. So seeing that part of like, okay, that shows like I can express and show my love to God in a way that maybe I definitely wasn't comfortable with at first. Yeah. But now it's like, yeah, that's good. Yeah. And there's a passion behind it that I've learned because just watching you. Yeah. That's just a little love for you right there. But. Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah, and there's so much, layers to this. Again, like we'll talk about why there's hate and why there's violence. We're going to talk about those things. But I think it's really imperative to really help our students know where to start. Yes. Right? Yes. And so what would you tell them on, where to start to have this kind of this new perspective of race and culture? I
think one of the things that it's important to start with is trying to be more self-aware. Like in general in life, being self-aware is going to help you out so much. Knowing yourself, why you do certain things you do, why you act a certain way you act. And maybe it's hard for you and for some of you students in your context because you don't have this space where you can actually be around a group of black friends, of black kids at your school. You can't be around like I know here it's predominantly white, right? We do have a nice population of Asians, so maybe that's a good place to start, right? Like some Koreans or maybe whatever. Like that's maybe be a good place to start. But going into that and recognizing and not seeing them through your eyes, right? Trying to see them through God's eyes. Like if you're a Christian, I think in general we're called to see people through God's eyes. We're called to see people the way that he sees them. And when we do see that, it shows us places where maybe that we've had a bias. Like when we step out from ourselves, we can see, okay, I see them like this, but God sees them like this. So I need to get rid of my view of them and recognize that God loves them and cares for them, and trying to understand what that means too.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah. No, that's good, man. I think, like you said, I think you need to be like a student.
Yes.
Right? Like, be a student, take the heart posture of trying to, think to yourself, you don't know everything about that person, about that culture.
No.
And don't take your cues from media or movies or the news or Snapchat or TikTok. Like, be a student and be courageous enough to step into someone's world. So first, start with your heart. Like he said, like be self-aware. Like start with what's inside of you, and the prejudices and the things that you feel, but also just be a student, like be a learner. And I know it's hard because I know you want to be around your friends and really that's your crew that you stick to, and
you're worried more time to go to something else,
where you feel the most accepted and the most known and the most seen. But you need to see someone else. You need to make someone else feel known. You need to make someone else feel more accepted. And so, yeah, for sure, be a student and just enjoy the process of trying to get to know someone.
Embrace the awkwardness.
Yeah, and learn it. There's a friend of mine in Halifax who does this really well. She is currently like a Christian, and she lives and she does life with Muslims. To just step into the world. Yes, they don't believe the same things that she does, and yes, she doesn't. They don't see the world the same. But yet she's stepping into their world and just being a friend. Being a friend. You don't need a theology degree to be a friend.
And I think there's an important thing there too. Just being someone's friend doesn't mean you have to change the things that you like.
Yeah, or try to change them.
Yes.
You
can have different interests, different likes, but still be friends.
Yeah.
And still love them for who God created them to be, right?
Exactly.
Hopefully it changes your bias towards them.
Yeah, exactly.
But it doesn't. You don't have to change. That's probably the only thing that's going to change from that is your bias, which is good.
Yeah, because there is stigmas to other cultures, and so start with the heart, be a student, and just be a friend.
I think one thing
that's good. Start with the heart, be a student, be a friend.
Oh, come on. You guys are already students.
That's good. That's a good word.
I think a thing that you said there and you have said is that the media, the memes, the jokes, stepping away from that because that does enforce something.
Yeah.
The white guy, the black guy, and the Asian guy walking to the bar.
No.
Those kind of things. Step away from that, and I think if we were to say one thing, I think it would be the idea of seeing people through God's eyes and allowing that to shape your heart. And I know for you it would be being the student, right? So, yeah, I think for those of you who maybe are in the Atlantic Canada area, I don't think there's anyone outside of Atlantic Canada that's listening to this right now. If I'm being honest, but that might even mean reading different things that you don't normally read, or watching different shows that you might not normally watch, and yes. You have to be careful because we said those medias can shape and be wrong, or reading things can be wrong. But looking at them and talking to those people that in your life, I think everybody knows at least one person who's not the same ethnicity of them or the same race or the same culture, and saying, "Hey, how did this make you feel? Can you open my eyes to or show me or tell me about what this may feel like, or what this what this triggers and brings up inside of you, right? Those kind of things.
And be ready to feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
I was having a talk with a friend, the other day, and it was uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
Right. And that's okay. It doesn't mean we're not friends anymore. It's just we're exchanging our own experiences and our own biases and our own feelings toward a certain topic, especially like the race conversation. And we're just being friends.
And I think an important, and we should talk about this another, not obviously we don't have time now, but another one is not disqualifying their feelings, right?
Yes.
If someone is feeling something, that's important.
Yeah.
Like if they feel a certain way, that just because they feel that way doesn't invalidate their thoughts or their feelings. Like, and just because you disagree doesn't mean that their feelings are wrong either, right? It's hearing and understanding. Okay, why are you feeling that way? What's the truth behind this? What can I take from this and change in my life? Yeah. But anyway,
that was a good word. Well, again, we can't say everything in this one episode, but tune in over the next few episodes because we're gonna try to just have a safe space and just an honest space to really kind of have these more.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, like let us know, like email us. Just kidding. Hit us up on
tweet us,
Instagram,
DM us,
TikTok, whatever you want, or like, leave a comment and
snap us
on the YouTube video. I don't think we have a Snapchat, but yeah, let us know. We'll look at the questions and we'll maybe try to address them too, like whether they're questions that you feel awkward asking. I feel like it's okay to ask awkward questions, especially if it comes behind a heart that wants to know and understand.
Absolutely.
I feel like anyone who truly cares will have compassion on you just wanting to understand. Yeah, right? So feel free to send out those questions to us. We want to help just facilitate this safe place. That's what this podcast is for, right? A safe place to be 100, to be honest about stuff. So.
Well, friends, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we will see you guys next time on the pod.
See you next time.
See you guys.